Well, hi guys and gals, it's me George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, and now we're back to work on this Kohler, our barn find that we got the other day. Now, I've put a battery in it, and I tried to start it, and all I could get out of it was a click, you know? And so I had to do some testing. Let me show you what it was doing. Just a click. So I took my test light and I was getting power coming through the solenoid and I was getting power coming down here to the starter, but there was no wire on this spade. So I ran a hot wire from my solenoid, and I think probably this is where it should have come from in the first place, on the solenoid. See that right down in there? That terminal had a wire coming off it. I couldn't follow it through because of the way it was going, but I hooked hot wire from there over here to the spade connector on the starter solenoid, and that wire, that pole gets hot when you turn the key on, and then it turns off when you turn the key off, and so it will activate this solenoid so that it will go like this. So it'll go like that. There, we still got a problem here somehow. I'm thinking that solenoid over there is going to need to be replaced, because it'll work. Either that or get a bad connection here. This thing was all rusty. Yeah. Well, it works some of the time. So I've got to double check that, and I think I have another solenoid on my parts tractor, my Husqvarna. And maybe we can swap solenoids, see if that'll make the difference. Now I've got to make a decision here, and one of the things I've got to do is determine how well this engine runs. So let's give it a shot. See how it goes. So we know it runs, and problem we have too is I've already checked the gas coming out of the tank. I disconnected here on the fuel pump to make sure that it was pumping fuel, and it is, but there's about 50% water in it. So what I need to do is I need to disconnect my fuel line down here and put a fuel tank on it so we can get it to run and stay running for a couple of minutes. Now, there's a good chance where there's water in the gas already that the carburetor is going to have to come apart. But our next project is to get a temporary fuel tank hooked up so we can get it to run for a few minutes and see how it sounds, and maybe get it set up enough so I can try the drive system on it. I have no idea what the transaxle is like. So, yep, these are all things you got to determine. This one has a 50-inch deck on it. My Husqvarnas only have 48, but that's not a big deal really. But my thinking at this point anyway is I'm leaning towards taking this motor off of here and putting it on my Husqvarna with the seized up engine. That way all three of my mowers that I will then have functioning will be Husqvarna, and it'll be easier to source parts for it, although some of the parts for this are similar, if not the same, for the Husqvarna. Alright, so let me find a fuel tank that we can hook up temporarily and see if we get it to run, determine if maybe the carburetor is going to have to be cleaned out. Well, it's kind of a make-do setup, but I think it'll do the job. I drilled out the hole with a 3/8 bit and cut the end of the fuel line at an angle and shoved it down in there, and it's going into the fuel pump, so we'll see how it works. Ain't gonna work as long as it's kinked off down here though. Need a longer piece of fuel line, I guess. Alright, let's try this again. You knew it had to be red fuel line, not blue. Give it a shot of start fluid to get her started. See if it'll pick up the fuel from the tank. I'm going to have to take this cover off and see about diving into the carburetor. Hold on to your hats, because here we go. Doesn't surprise me to find out that there were critters living in here. "10mm socket. Yeah. I'd like to take the bowl off without taking the whole carburetor apart, but if we have to take the carburetor apart, well, it's not hard to take the carburetor apart. We'll just slide off of there. Let me disconnect the fuel line. We'll disconnect a couple of these linkages. We'll take it off and take it right in the shop. How's that sound? That'll give us a good look at it. Now let's see if we can dump some fuel out of here. I don't think we're going to get much out of it. But we'll see what we get with what does come out. I don't know if you can see that, but it looks pretty grungy, don't it? You see down in there? We'll let it settle out a little bit, but that's probably 50% water or more. So this one actually has a jet down in there. We'll have to take that out and clean it. Yeah, there's a lot of gobbledygook down in there for sure. I'll clean these things up and I'll bring you back. So we lifted our float off. We get our needle valve out. And now we got to do a little cleaning down in here. I think I need to take my carburetor cleaner and blast that all out. Run it down through here, run it down through there. Make sure everything there is clear. And maybe try taking this metering valve out of there. Now this is the inside of that solenoid. See how dirty it is? And let me zoom you over there onto the other part of it. Sitting in the vise. And this plunger was stuck. So we've got to make sure that this all works really well. Otherwise that'll affect the running of our engine. Okay, so some of you might wonder what the purpose of this solenoid is. And well, let me show you. Take this back apart here. This electrical solenoid plunger comes down inside and blocks off the fuel inlet for the metering. And so it's what it does is that'll go down in there and block off the fuel when you shut off your engine. As long as the power is to it, it stays retracted. And then when you turn the key off, it kicks out and it shuts the fuel off, so that way it stops it from dieseling. Now I've cleaned all of these parts and putting it back together now. And this just screws in the bottom. I took all the fittings out and blew them out and made sure everything was working properly. And we're getting fuel going everywhere it should go. So we're almost ready to put it back together. Okay, let's take it out and see what we can see. See if putting it back together, if it'll run. Hold on to your hats. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. One more thing. Told you I was going to show you the water in here. If I can stop from shaking. Okay. I need to back you out a little bit. Can you see the line down in here? That separation between what's on top and what's on bottom? That's water on the bottom there. It's about half water. Not good. That's why we're not going to trust that gas tank. We'll have to drain that one down completely. Okay, we've got our carburetor all reinstalled. Got some gas in our little temporary gas tank. So let's see what happens. See if it'll run on its own. Got the choke pulled out. Recording. Okay. Come on. Gotta change that solenoid.
It's not starting.
No, solenoid is bad on it. Well, it's a few days later, and the starter that was on here was junk. So I bought a new starter and put it on. Now let's see how this thing starts after it has been adjusted, valves adjusted and all that good stuff. Still gonna use a choke because it's still cold. And there you have it. So now, my next chore, my next chore is going to be to take motor out of this one on the left, this Husqvarna, which presently has a Briggs & Stratton motor in it, and put this Kohler into it. It should work out. One of my other Husqvarnas has a Kohler in it already. So I have one with a Briggs & Stratton, one with a Kohler, and now we'll have two with Kohlers. So that's my next chore. So hold on to your hats. This freebie has turned out to be a real boon. Transaxle's good. Maybe we can use that in an upcoming project. Hang on to your hats. Thanks for watching, commenting, and for subscribing. Thumbs up and sharing. All of those good things. Till next time, this is George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, saying thanks for watching. Bye now.